New insights on how exercise is anti-aging. I'm excited to share these new insights with you today. I think we all know intuitively that exercise is anti-aging, but it's cool to see the research elucidate the mechanisms on how exercise promotes anti-aging physiology for us. And today we have a new study adding another piece to that puzzle. So we're going to dive into that, and it doesn't matter if you're an older adult or elderly or geriatric, whatever your favorite term for that is, or if you're a young kid, the exercise that we perform is anti-aging and promotes health span, which is quality of life, and lifespan, which is length of life for all who undertake it. And as we've talked about many times on this channel, we all need to be exercising daily because that is that need is baked into our genes. And so, what is the new study? Let's take a look. The study showing the importance or adding to our knowledge about the importance of exercise for anti-aging is entitled Systematic Profiling Reveals Betaine as an Exercise Mimetic for Geroprotection. So geroprotection is another word in the long list of vocab words for anti-aging. So geroprotection is protecting, you could look at it as protecting against geriatric or protecting against aging or degenerating. And so this paper looked at exercise and how does exercise slow aging? And it found that betaine is a key molecule in the anti-aging effect of exercise. So the highlights of the paper, first it was done on healthy humans. And what they did is they put healthy males, we'll get into the details here in a moment, but they put healthy males under both acute and chronic exercise, or we should say sustained exercise, repeated exercise. The acute exercise, they wanted to see the effects of acute exercise on physiology, inflammatory markers, etc. And then they wanted to see sustained or repeated exercise and its effect on physiology as well. So, first thing to notice is that repeated exercise boosts circulating betaine levels, and mostly due to production in the kidney. So, repeated exercise or consistent exercise, exercising daily, boosts betaine that is made by the kidneys. Betaine inhibits tank binding kinase 1, which reduces senescence or aging or cell death associated with aging and inflammation. Betaine exerts multi-organ geroprotection in aged mice. The summary of the paper is that they took healthy males and they put them under acute exercise and repeated exercise, and they found that the repeated exercise triggers adaptive changes, healthy changes, whereas acute exercise induced transient inflammation. We'll dive into that further in a moment. But the adaptive changes that the repeated exercise induced were reducing senescence and inflammation, or the promotion of aging, and enhancing betaine metabolism. Exercise-driven betaine enrichment, or exercise-driven increase in betaine levels, exerts anti-aging effects and rescues age-related health decline in mice. So we start with animals. We start with animals for studies on cells in a dish, and then as we get better and better results at each level, we ultimately move into human studies, and so those are forthcoming. But they finished the study by saying these results position betaine as an exercise mimetic for healthy aging. And mimetic is mimicking, right? So we can use betaine to mimic the effects of exercise to slow aging for us. And we'll talk about that further in a little bit. But I love the image from this paper. This is the graphical abstract of the paper. It's sourced from this source here. So if you look this paper up, you could search it either by the title from the previous slide here, or you can enter the citation here and you'll find it. But this is a great graphic showing us the yin and yang of exercise. And basically the paper found that, hey, if we did acute exercise, we get increased inflammation. Like if you don't exercise very often and then you exercise once, that actually increases inflammation and potential tissue damage. But if you make exercise a lifestyle and you do repeated exercise, daily exercise, then you get all the benefits. You get an increase in betaine in the kidneys, and that betaine then blocks tank binding kinase 1, which drives senescence and inflammation. So if TBK1 causes senescence or breakdown with aging and inflammation, if we can block that with betaine, we're blocking the aging. So increasing our betaine had all of the effects in this loop or in this circle. It decreased genetic expression of pro-inflammatory cytokines. It decreased triglycerides. So obviously exercise is metabolically promotes better metabolic function. And one way to do that is, or one effect of that is decreasing triglycerides. Consistent exercise, increasing betaine, decreased microbial pathogens, so less infections, improved naive lymphocytes. So these are white blood cells that can turn into any of the soldiers we need them to be. So you have higher numbers of naive lymphocytes, you have the greater ability to mature them into the form that you need at a given time and better fight whatever that thing is. Decreased complement, so decreased innate inflammation, decreased senescence, so decreased cell death associated with aging, decreased inflammation, improved genetic stability. That's good, right? And part of that would be, at the end of our genes are those telomeres that we've talked about in previous videos, that once those telomeres shorten, well, the way we die. So if we can slow telomere shortening, we can slow aging. Increased heterochromatin, so epigenetic efficiency. Remember, epigenetics are how our genes are expressed, and that expression is controlled by our lifestyle, our choices, our environment. So choosing to exercise improves health through epigenetic effects. Decreased oxidative stress or rust from consistent exercise, and that's piggybacked with increased antioxidants. So if we have increased antioxidants, then we have increased anti-rust. We can put out the rust. So these are the various effects of exercise and betaine enrichment that all promote slowed aging and improved health. So let's jump over to the news article on this paper and get a little bit more of the detail. So here we are looking at the news article on this paper from Medical Express, and they do a good job of summarizing the study for us. And so if we dive in, this paper, again, was looking at comparing acute versus long-term exercise impacts on humans. So they took 13 healthy young men, and what they did was they had them do nothing or just about nothing for 45 days. So they wanted to get that baseline level of their health. And what they did was they took blood and stool samples before starting the study, immediately after the study, and post-training. And so they took these guys after 45-day baseline of minimal activity, and they had them each run a 5K once. And so they wanted to see what was the acute effect of exercise. And then they followed that by 25 days of running a 5K every day for 25 days. And that modeled the consistent long-term training. So the results from doing that was the acute sessions provoked inflammation. Okay, increased inflammation evidenced by interleukin-6, which, as we've talked about in previous videos, is one of the unhappy triad in terms of pro-inflammatory cytokines, along with tumor necrosis factor alpha and IL-1 beta. So they said the acute exercise increased inflammation and other markers of metabolic strain, with elevations in non-esterified fatty acids and shifts in bile acid metabolism. But the consistent exercise had different effects. Sustained training over the 25 days led to reduction in TNF alpha, okay, so reduction in inflammation and increase in antioxidant enzymes and healthy immune cells. So that's great to see. And then we also had lower GGT, which is one of the liver enzymes, and lower triglycerides, which both indicate improved metabolic function. So exercise improved antioxidant defenses, immune system health, and metabolic health. Repeated exercise also drove an increase of circulating betaine. Okay, why is betaine important? Well, betaine is a methyl donor. So we've talked about many times on this channel the methylation cycle, right? And how in the methylation cycle, we can draw it here. It looks like this. It looks like there's two gears, right? And as this gear turns this way, this gear turns this way. And when they turn, we take methionine, MET for short, and it gives up a methyl group, or CH3, and is now homocysteine. And homocysteine is toxic and causes oxidative stress, toxic to heart and brain, etc. So we want to again turn this wheel to turn the homocysteine back into methionine, so we can do this over and over again. Well, one way to do that is to make this wheel turn, right? And the thing controlling the turning of this wheel is the MTHFR gene and associated enzyme. And so many people who have been reading health blogs for a while know, have heard of the MTHFR gene, and that it requires vitamin B9 or folate, methylfolate, to function optimally. And so if you don't have good B9 levels, that might interfere with the turning of this wheel. And this is the long path. So turning the MTHFR wheel is the long path to turning this methionine wheel, but there's a short cycle through this wheel here that has an enzyme called BHMT. And forgive my handwriting, I'm writing without my digital pen, but BHMT is an enzyme that you can use trimethylglycine and betaine as the cofactor. So it's a shortcut to recycle the homocysteine, even if you've got MTHFR issues. So the betaine is a methyl donor and a way to get this cycle turning, even if you've got MTHFR issues. So maybe more information than you wanted to know, but just to tie things together to other videos we've made on this channel so you can know a little bit more about your health. And so, as they say, the betaine is a methyl donor previously linked to liver function, which is where most of the methylation occurs. But betaine in the study is derived largely from the kidney. And again, like we said earlier, betaine binds to and blocks tank kinase 1, a key driver of inflammation and cellular aging. So if we block the driver of inflammation and cellular aging, that is anti-aging. And that is beneficial to those who desire anti-aging, which is all of us on some level. So they said, hey, what if we use betaine without exercise? And so that's what this is talking about right here. Cells that line the inside of your blood vessels. When they applied betaine to immune cells and endothelial cells, the treatment, again, lowered inflammation, the unhappy triad, TNF alpha, IL-6, and then IL-1 beta is another one. So lowered inflammation, which is very important. Then they said, okay, it worked in cells. How about mice? So they gave aged mice betaine supplements, and they found decreased tissue fibrosis. So when fibrosis builds up, when tissue fibrosis occurs, that's scar tissue. Just think of scar tissue. So scar tissue in the joints, scar tissue in the muscles, scar tissue in the lungs would be, pulmonary fibrosis, scar tissue in various other organs and glands could be cystic fibrosis. We don't want fibrosis or scar tissue to build up over time. And so giving aged mice betaine reduced fibrosis, which is great. It also reduced senescence markers in multiple organs. So remember, senescence is basically aging that causes cell death. So if we reduce the aging of organs, we have healthier organs and overall healthier organism. Betaine increased the muscle strength of the mice and reduced depression-like behaviors in the mice, which that was probably tied to betaine's function as a methyl donor, because patients with MTHFR gene mutations and who don't have efficient methylation cycles, they can have depression, anxiety, mental health issues. So betaine in aged mice did all of these things. And lastly, it downregulated genes that code for inflammation and aging. So it had genetic impact, it had real-time impact on biomarkers and muscles and fibrosis. Super important. So I said earlier, when we're studying something, oftentimes the pattern is they study it in cells in a petri dish, they study it in mice or some other rodents or animals, and then they move on to humans. So next would be the human studies, which we don't necessarily have yet, but they end this study by saying dietary betaine supplementation could be used to support healthy aging, and maybe it could be used to mimic exercise in patients that are unable to exercise. So if someone, say, is wheelchair bound or bed bound or has some sort of morbidity that doesn't allow them to exercise, perhaps we can get some of the benefits of exercise by using an exercise mimicking supplement like betaine. And so while we await the studies that hopefully will show the same results in live humans as they do in human cells and in mice, there's probably very low risk to supplement with the betaine in the meantime. And so, where can you get that? The answer is we can supplement with betaine. There are many companies out there that have betaine HCl products. One good company is SFI Health, and you can get their product at fullscript.com on my online store. Full disclosure, I'll get a few bucks if you order it, but the key is you don't have to order it from me. If you do, great, and thank you. But the key would be, hey, if you're looking for anti-aging benefits and also methylation support, betaine HCl per this study looks like it can be uh, kill two birds with one stone for you. Improve your methylation as well as improve all of the things in the wheel of fortune we see here, which again, improve antioxidant defenses, anti-inflammatory, slow aging, improve immunity, decrease microbial pathogens, and improve metabolic function. And so while we wait for the human studies, live human studies, we know already in this live human study that the exercise drove increased betaine production. And so it's likely that supplementing with betaine will also promote the benefits. So keep on exercising, keep on promoting that healthy life and lifestyle that is anti-aging, which includes nutrition, includes exercise, includes healthy stress handling, includes toxin avoidance, includes optimal sleep quality, quantity, and timing, and healthy community and relationships.